This video has been made possible by the Safe at Home Manitoba program.
Hi, I'm Rebecca and I'm a registered dietitian. Thinking back to when you were growing up and really fun winter days, do you have fond memories of going skating on the pond and having a cup of hot cocoa? Or maybe going to look at snow sculptures and having some maple syrup taffy? Or how about going snowshoeing and having warm bannock and homemade jam? For me, a really fun tradition is going tobogganing and having cinnamon buns afterwards with a fondue dip. So that's what we're going to make today. And if you've never had cinnamon buns with a cream cheese fondue dip before, I can almost guarantee you won't want to have them any other way after this. So for this recipe, you're going to need 4 cups of unbleached flour, 1 cup of water, 2 eggs, 1/4 cup of butter melted, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of skim milk powder, and 1 tablespoon of quick rise yeast. If you don't have skim milk powder, that's no problem. You can substitute the 1 cup of water with 1 cup of milk instead. And this is a basic sweet dough recipe, so you can use it for the cinnamon buns, or you can use it for something else in the future instead too. For the filling for the cinnamon buns, you're going to need 3/4 cup of brown sugar. I like to use Demerara style brown sugar because it has a richer flavor, but you can also use golden brown sugar instead. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 cup of butter at room temperature, and for the cream cheese fondue dip, you're gonna need 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla, 1 package of cream cheese, and 1 package of butter, also softened to room temperature. So you can go ahead and pause the video while you gather everything that you need. All right, now that you have all of your ingredients, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're going to mix our wet ingredients first. I'm going to use a stand mixer, but you don't need one. You can use a bowl and a hand mixer instead, or a bowl, a spoon, and some really strong muscles will also work. So we're going to add our melted butter first. We got 1/4 cup of melted butter, our 1 cup of water, and 2 eggs. Once we have all of our wet ingredients, we can go ahead and mix that up. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. We're going to give them a stir together first. So we're going to add our sugar, salt, skim milk powder, and our yeast to our bowl and give that a stir first. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. And we're gonna go ahead and knead our dough until it's nice and elastic, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. When you're done kneading your dough, you can go ahead and put it back in the bowl. We're gonna put that bowl in a warm location so the dough can double in size as it rises. One trick that I like to do is take a bowl of warm water, not hot, and put one bowl inside the other. Make sure there's not too much water in this bowl or it'll spill all over the counter. Here we go. If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast and it won't rise. So again, warm but not hot. You should be able to touch it with your fingers easily and it not hurt your fingers. Then we want to cover it with a towel and set it aside as it rises. While our dough is rising, we can go ahead and get our filling ready. So we're going to mix the 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup plus about 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter, and you can use a little bit more butter if you need to so that we have enough filling to spread all over the cinnamon buns. So 1/4 cup plus about 2 tablespoons-ish. And of course, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, otherwise they wouldn't be cinnamon buns. I'm going to use a pastry cutter to cut the butter into the sugar. If you don't have a pastry cutter, that's no problem. You can use a fork or even a couple of knives instead. It works great. You will know that your filling is ready once the pieces of butter are about pea-sized shape or a little bit smaller. And this is really good. This is going to spread very nicely over top of our cinnamon buns. So you can go ahead and set that aside. Our dough is still rising, so it's time to work on our cream cheese fondue dip. What you're going to need to do is get your room temperature cream cheese, open up the package, and we're going to beat it until it's smooth. Once your cream cheese has been beaten completely smooth, you can add the butter. Make sure that you have not melted the butter, but that it's only at room temperature. Next, add the vanilla and continue mixing until thoroughly combined, scraping the sides of the bowl on occasion. Before adding the powdered sugar, you might want to turn your mixer to a slower speed so that it doesn't end up all over your kitchen. Add the powdered sugar a little bit at a time and continue mixing until you have a completely even consistency. You can continue to scrape the sides of the bowl as needed so that everything gets mixed in as it should. Once the loose powdered sugar has all been mixed in, turn your mixer to a high speed and beat until you have no more lumps. Once my cream cheese mixture is an even consistency, I can go ahead and either warm it up right away or I can put it in the fridge until I'm ready to warm it up. When I am ready to warm it up for the fondue, I'm going to transfer it to a heat-safe bowl, or in this case, this one is a heat-safe bowl, and I can put it either into a sauce pot or into a crock pot, or my Instant Pot works as a crock pot. You'll want to fill your sauce pot or your Instant Pot a third of the way with water. That way when you put the bowl in, the water level rises so that it's the same level as the cream cheese mixture and it is heated evenly throughout. I'm gonna go ahead and put mine into the fridge for now. That way, while my dough is rising, I can go outside and have some fun. Earlier I mentioned that going tobogganing and having cinnamon buns are great things to pair together. Now I'm not recommending pairing these together to burn off all the calories. Exercise is not a punishment for indulging in a treat food. Neither is a treat food a reward for grueling exercise. Instead, I'm recommending a healthier way to view this is that cinnamon buns are a sometimes food, meaning cinnamon buns are not something I would recommend for breakfast every weekday, but they are a delicious treat to enjoy on special occasions. And for most people, cross-country skiing or tobogganing is only a sometimes activity instead of a routine activity. So if we combine a sometimes food with a sometimes activity, it makes for a great experience and a memorable day. Exercise is not just about movement or burning off energy, it's also about creating happy chemicals in your brain, creating a positive experience and wonderful memories. So while your dough is rising and your cream cheese mixture is in the fridge, I would encourage you to get outside, bundle up if you have to, and go ahead and have some fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun outside in the fresh air, and I'm sure you're really looking forward to those cinnamon buns, so we're gonna get started right away. You'll want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you haven't put your cream cheese fondue into your crock pot yet, you're gonna wanna go ahead and do that now. Give that a little stir. So you'll know your dough is done once it's risen to about double in size. And the fun part is punching it down and get your hand a little sticky And what we're going to do is we're going to carefully remove the dough from the bowl, spread a little bit of flour onto our counter. And we're gonna cut our dough into 2 lumps. So we got 2 pieces here. Each piece will make 12 cinnamon buns. And then I'm gonna set one aside. The other one, I'm just gonna give it a light dusting of flour over top. We don't want to work too much flour into the dough. So I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit on top just so that my rolling pin doesn't stick too much. And then I'm gonna roll it into about a 9-inch by 12-inch rectangle. When you're rolling the dough, don't roll from one end all the way to the other. Make sure you're always starting in the middle and only rolling out. Start in the middle, roll out the other way, in the middle and out, in the middle and out. And you can also go from the middle to the top and the middle to the bottom. Just never all the way across. Otherwise you're undoing some of the work you already did. If the dough is sliding on the counter too much, you can lift that up and either dust off from the bottom, or you can flip it the other way. And then we'll roll this side. So from the middle and out. All right, once you have roughly a 9 by 12-inch rectangle, we're gonna go ahead and spread half of our filling all over onto our dough. Divide the filling in half. And sprinkle that on. Use your fingers if you want, and spread it about 1/2 inch to 1 inch away from the edge on all sides. I want each piece to get a good bit of that delicious filling. All right, once your filling is evenly spread out over all of your cinnamon bun dough, we're gonna get a little dish of water ready to go on the side, and we're going to take the long edge of our cinnamon bun dough and roll it all the way up. And then once we get about 3/4 of the way up, we're gonna dip our finger into the dish of water and then just spread a thin layer of water on the edge of our cinnamon bun dough. And this way, it's gonna stick and stay closed for us. I'm gonna stretch that a bit and stick it right on. The water will make it good and sticky. I need to add a little bit extra right there. Excellent. Now, we're going to cut up our cinnamon buns. So I'm going to start in the middle. Lovely, look at that. Okay, so once we've got our 2 pieces, I'm going to take each piece and cut it into 6 pieces. So I'm actually going to cut it in half again. And now if I cut 2 more times, I'll have 3 pieces from each of these sections. Okay, next piece. So again, cut that piece in half, each of the remaining pieces. Two more times. falls out, just stick it in the end pieces. Good, so you can go ahead and get either 2 round baking sheets or 1 large rectangle baking sheets, and we'll assemble our cinnamon buns in the baking sheet for them to rise. All right, once you've got all your cinnamon buns cut up and ready to go, we're gonna go ahead and make sure we're giving our cream cheese fondue dip a stir every once in a while. And then we're gonna go ahead and butter our pans. So you can either use a wrapper from the packages of butter that we used before and give each of the pans a good rub down, rub the bottom and the sides. If you don't have the butter wrapper, that's okay. You can use some Pam spray instead. All right, so 6 cinnamon buns will fit very nicely in each of the pans. I like to put the end piece right in the middle. Don't have to. And if any of the little crumbs fall out or the filling falls out, you can go ahead and put that in the middle. Now these cinnamon buns need to rise one more time before they're ready to bake. So we're going to take our dirty dishes and fill them with warm, warm water. And then we're going to take our cinnamon buns and put them on top. That way they have a constant heat source, so they'll rise a lot faster than if they were just at room temperature. Again, we don't want to make sure that the water is boiling hot. We don't want to kill any of the yeast, but it should be pretty good and warm. Once your cinnamon buns are all set to rise on the nice warm water, let's remember once again to give our cream cheese fondue dip a stir every now and again. Then we're going to put some towels on top of our cinnamon buns. We don't want the tops to dry out as they're trying to rise upwards. If it forms a crust on the top, they won't rise as nicely. So get these all tucked in. We're going to let them rise for about a half an hour or so until they are approximately double in size. And now is the perfect time to clean your kitchen. That way when you enjoy them, we don't have to worry about the mess. You'll know that your cinnamon buns are done rising once they are about double in size. So these ones are looking lovely. They're gonna go in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes or until you poke them with the toothpick and the toothpick comes out clean. We're so close to being able to taste these. I hope you're looking forward to it. When your cinnamon buns are almost ready to come out of the oven, we can scoop our cream cheese fondue into a heat-safe container. Time to test if our cinnamon buns are done. It smells so good. So I'm going to take a toothpick and put it through the middle of one of the cinnamon buns. And it comes out perfectly clean, so I know that these are done. Not all of my cinnamon buns were ready all at the same time. The ones on the bottom rack are not done yet, but I'm going to let these start cooling upside down. I'm gonna flip them over on a plate. While your cinnamon buns are cooling, you can get some popsicle sticks, or if you want to be really fancy, you can get some cinnamon sticks, and we're going to use those to pierce into the cinnamon buns and dunk them into the fondue dip. Once your cinnamon buns have cooled enough that you can handle them, we're going to cut them into pieces and assemble them on a tray. Now sugar can get really good and hot, so don't burn yourself. Make sure that they have cooled enough. When I'm pulling apart the cinnamon bun, is just so fresh and soft. These are gonna be so much better than anything you've ever bought at the store. I'm gonna cut my cinnamon buns into quarters. You can cut them smaller or larger depending on your preference. Okay, so I'm gonna stab them with a cinnamon stick and assemble them on a serving tray. All right, there you have it. Cinnamon buns with a cream cheese fondue. I hope you had fun making them, and I really hope you enjoy eating them. Till next time. This video has been made in partnership with the RM of La Broquerie Leisure Services.